Steelers Nation, what is going on? Thank you guys so very much for joining us on yet another edition of the Steelers Culture Podcast, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football. And today we're bringing to you our post-free agency period mock draft. It is that time of period where in free agency it is very slim, it is dying down, it is basically dead in the water right now. And with just under a month away from the NFL draft coming upon us, we feel it is the appropriate time for us to bring to you our second mock draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, man. 4 weeks until the 2025 NFL Draft. Aaron Rodgers, at least of this recording, has not made a decision yet by the time this is uploaded. He may be a Steeler. He may be retired. Nobody knows. But regardless, we're going to come out to you guys with our second official mock draft for the offseason. This one clearly a lot different compared to the one we did before free agency, as a lot has changed, clearly, because we don't have a second-round pick. And in this mock, we do not trade back. Highly considered, and I'm sure there will be a mock down the road where we do indeed trade back. But in this one, we will stay put. We're going to stay put with exactly the picks that the Steelers have right now as we stand, with the 21st pick, the 83rd pick, the 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, and 7th-round pick. So we're going to get started in the first round. Steelers, man, listen, I'm going to leave the door open for a lot of positions in the first round, but I'm still sold. I'm still going to go with D-line in the first round. I think D-line is one of the top needs. I think in the first round, if you want to get a legitimate game changer, if you want to get someone that's going to make an immediate impact in the run game, someone with pass rush upside, the first round is the sweet spot. They could wait and get a nose later on because of how stacked the D-line group is. But we think in the first round, there's going to be 3 individuals specifically that are going to be there that will fit what the Steelers need. That is Walter Nolan, Derek Hartman, and Kenneth Grant. In this mock, we repeat what we did in the last mock. With the 21st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman out of Michigan. The reason we go Grant again is because, one, he's one of our favorites of the entire draft class, and we think he fits exactly what the Steelers need to do, which is stop the run. One of their biggest issues for years now, but especially towards the tail end of last season, was they couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop nobody to save their lives. They need a nose to fill the gaps. They need a nose to fill in and play that role immediately. That would be Kenneth Grant. Hayward and Ben would be your DNs playing 3-tech, and Grant, down the road, he could move to 3-tech, but right now, if he's selected, he would play the 0. He would be the nose tackle. Now, I know there are some concerns with his arm length or with how he played a certain limited amount of snaps in Michigan, but I think that's where he can get his feet wet with the Steelers, being the nose tackle and rundown or early rundown situations. But what I like about him is, as good as he is as a run defender, he does have pass rush upside. Not all the tools aren't there yet, but I think with some development and with Carl Dunbar coming back and his, reputation and his track record of guys he's developed underneath, I think Grant could move on to be a stellar defensive lineman for the Steelers, keeping it young, keeping it fresh, and adding another great body to that D-line for a lot of needs.
Yeah, Kenneth Grant coming from Michigan of all schools, a very, high pedigree school, just goes to show, the pedigree that Grant's already going to bring to the NFL level. And I'm sure that, just what he did in Michigan and just, the high upside and pedigree that he is going to bring, it's something that the defensive line coach, Carl Dunbar, is going to love to have. It's what he's going to want to work with and want to develop and take under his wing and try to work with. I mean, Grant is just a dog. He's a big body, a big mammoth of a defensive lineman right there, just to fill the nose tackle position. And in order to move Ben over to 3-tech, in order for him to play opposite of Hayward's spot, that way you can give Keanu Benton more 3-down opportunities, and just a guy like Grant to be the nose tackle to clog the hole, fill the gap, and just bring his level of pedigree and potential to the defensive line, just to make it young. And the writing, I feel like, is on the wall for the first round, considering the Steelers, when it comes to defensive line and free agency, they basically just added depth pieces, not really any, big name defensive lineman or any high caliber defensive lineman in free agency, nothing but depth guys. So I feel the writing is on the wall for the first round for defensive linemen. And Kenneth Grant would be a hell of a stud for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I agree. And plus, they did cut Larry Ogunjobi. They have no one to play the nose right now. I think Grant comes in, plays that day one, and makes an immediate impact for sure. So in the first round, again, for a second straight mock, we go Kenneth Grant in the first round, one of our favorites of this entire draft class, and probably the likely guy when it comes to the pick at 21. If he is not selected prior, my fear is he could go to the Bengals because, they need defensive line help, but perhaps he could be there. And I would think if he's there at 21, he's going to be high on the Steelers draft board for sure.
Crazier things have happened.
Obviously, we don't have a second-round pick because that went to DK Metcalf in the Seattle Seahawks, which we're all still very excited about. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Could be Mason, could be A-Rod, could be I don't know who else. We have yet to determine the answer to that question.
Still waiting, yeah.
Steelers still haven't really filled that hole yet. So we don't have a second-round pick. We don't go quarterback yet. We will go quarterback soon, but we don't go quarterback yet. We think the other big need that the Steelers need to address is running back. So for a second straight mock in the third round, we go running back because they need someone that's going to pair with Warren, someone that's going to be the future premier back for the Steelers. And, they want to run the ball. They want someone with, high stature, someone with production in college, and someone with speed. Because I think we all agree we need speed back in the backfield. So in the third round with the 83rd pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers go running back and select DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State. He's a taller back, but he's a speedy back. I think those two things are what the Steelers could use, especially in a wide zone scheme for the Steelers. I think he fits that to a T. 21 years old, 2-year starter for the Wildcats. Both seasons, he had over 1,200 yards rushing on the ground, plus showed some receiving upside at the same time. What I like about Giddens is his shiftiness. He's a patient runner for sure, but his body movement, his footwork, and his change of direction and to be able to find open space and make defenders miss is really impressive, especially when he gets to the second level. Plus, his contact balance is something that the Steelers could really use in the backfield. I think he has a lot of tools to be a very good premier back in the NFL. And another good thing about him, besides of his speed, his change of direction, his contact balance, his fumbling is a non-issue. Only one fumble in his 2 seasons as a Wildcat.
And to keep that in mind, that is 428 carries within those 2 seasons. So, that's something that's going to stick out about Giddens. It's what's going to catch the Steelers' eye about Giddens. I believe they already had a pre-draft visit with him or top 30 visit, either one. They value this guy a lot. They value his style. They value his speed. They value his patient ability, and they value his ball protection, his ball security. And that's very key of what the Steelers are looking for on the offense and for, running the football, establishing the run. Giddens is a very under-the-radar running back in later day 2, in my opinion, in a stacked running back class. Giddens has all the makings to really, just continue to work and continue to grow and just continue to produce hella stats and hella play on the football field.
One thing I like about Giddens is the more I watch, the more I enjoy. Just the way he's able to run with the football in his hands and find open space and make big plays happen, and the long speed that he has. I think those are the tools that the Steelers are looking for in a future running back, someone that's going to pair with Warren very nicely. That's why I like Giddens a lot. He has really risen very quickly as one of our favorite round 3 running backs. And we think running back in the third round is a sweet spot. They could go running back in round 1 with like a Marion Hampton or Ashton Genty if he somehow criminally falls to 21. I'm not going to roll those 2 out. And they could go D-line later. But like our first mock, we go D-line first round and running back in the third. We think running back in the third is probably where they're going to go running back, because you can go running back in those rounds and still get someone that's going to pair with Warren, someone that could be a future premier back. And running back, like D-line, is stacked, and they've met with a lot of the guys that are going to go within those rounds. Now, could they trade back and get like a second-round pick and get someone of better stature? For sure, and I'm not going to hate that idea, and that's something we'll definitely float around in future mocks. But, again, we're staying where we're at, and in the third round, we go DJ Giddens to fill the running back position. Someone young, someone reliable, someone that has no issue, taking the load of a running back, the workhorse of a running back with receiving upside. There could be better, pass protection, especially for a guy his size. There could be some better physicality traits, but I think with time, he could mature to those levels.
Yeah, like you said, he's only 21 years old, and just, as he goes on within his career, especially at Kansas State, he just continues to improve and continues to show that he's working. Yeah. And that's what he's going to continue to do. I believe that.
I agree. Now in the fourth round with the 123rd pick, we go quarterback.
Finally.
Quarterback is one of those positions. It's hard to tell. It's hard to eyeball where the Steelers are going to go quarterback because they will at some point. We just don't know when. We don't think first round is the best idea. We don't think first round they should go quarterback. It's not the year to do that. That's for 2026. 2025 is not the year to go quarterback within the first 2 picks, in our opinion. If they want to go quarterback, day 3 is the sweet spot. 4th round, 5th round is kind of where we're kind of aiming, where we think the Steelers could go quarterback. Who that is specifically, you guys can put up for your own opinion or your own specific guy that you like. Well, in the 4th round here, we go with DJ Giddens, former quarterback at Kansas State, transfer to Ohio State.
I think you guys know where we're going
and
here.
Won a national championship. So with the 123rd pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Will Howard, quarterback out of the Ohio State. One thing I like about Howard is he has no problem stepping up in big moments. What he did in the playoffs is incredible stuff. Because he, out of a lot of people in Ohio State, he stepped up a lot. Stepping up at the quarterback position, stepping up in quarterback play, staying polished and composed in the pocket, showing some poise, throwing the ball with anticipation, hitting his targets, looking comfortable in the pocket. That's what Will Howard brings to the table. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Mason with some rushing ability. He doesn't have the arm like Mason. I think his accuracy is definitely questionable. It's a little inconsistent for my liking. But the thing with Will Howard is he would be coming in as the backup. Is there potential that he could develop as a starter? Perhaps, maybe. But I think with this pick, he would come in and be the future backup, almost like another Mason with rushing ability. And I think he doesn't run the ball often. He doesn't run the ball a lot, but it was efficient enough for Ohio State. And I think for a guy like Arthur Smith, he could utilize the RPOs and the read options for a guy like Will Howard if he ever has to. If Will Howard ever has to step in for a game or a series or so, I think he's capable of doing it. I think he can run an NFL-style offense. I think he has the smarts. I think he is very well composed. I think he processes the field very well. He doesn't stare down one receiver, which is another thing I like about him. That's one thing I noticed about a lot of quarterbacks in this draft class. Will Howard is one of those that doesn't stare down a receiver, so he's constantly looking at his reads. He processes the field very quickly, and he hits his targets very well. Again, accuracy is a little questionable. Arm strength is a little questionable, but I think he stepped up in big moments, and doing what he did for Ohio State last year and helping them lead them to a national championship speaks volumes at the potential of a Will Howard. I think he is going to be a very solid backup in the NFL for sure. And for the Steelers, I think that's exactly what they're looking for in the future.
And not just the potential that you spoke about, but just the competitive nature that he brings and carries for himself. The guy's a competitor. He spent, I believe it was 4 years at Kansas State before ultimately deciding to transfer and landing at Ohio State, and he wanted to prove himself that he could play with the top-tier teams, with the big leagues right there at the college level, and he really showcased that. 4,000 passing yards, 42 total touchdowns in his only year, which 35 of those was passing, but 7 of those was rushing. Now, you mentioned about his rushing ability. He doesn't do it often, but, I mean, the guy is not afraid to go out there to put his head down and run the ball. For a guy of big frame, I mean, 6'4", 236 pounds, that's very ideal size for the quarterback position at the NFL level. That's ideal NFL size there. That's something that you got to appreciate. But another thing you got to appreciate is his rushing ability. The guy's not afraid to take a hit. The guy's not afraid to put the team on his back. The guy's not afraid to go out there and put it all on the line. The guy's a competitor. That's the one thing I like about him. And his arm isn't exactly the most elite talent. It's not strong. It's not a strong arm, but it's an arm that's good enough to make the throws necessary. And Will Howard is one of those guys that is one of my preferred quarterbacks for the Steelers to look at. I feel like he's a guy that, yes, would start off as a backup, but he carries potential. And that's for, wherever he goes. He carries a lot of potential, when it comes to development and whatnot. But guy can come in, fill that quarterback role as a backup. But, Will Howard is a man that's a competitor, that wants to improve himself, that wants to better himself, that just wants to benefit and help his team out. That's something that you would want in a quarterback room.
I agree. And one thing you notice about his film is, one, Jeremiah Smith is just a beast. I can't believe the freshman year he had. He's already NFL day one ready. I'm not going to lie to you, man. Jeremiah Smith, you see a lot in these clips. He's a stud. And Will Howard, I'm not going to lie to you, he did have the best surround system to succeed. He had the best O-line. He had Egbuka. He had Tate. He had two phenomenal running backs. He had Jeremiah Smith. Their defense was great. I mean, Ohio State has a ton of studs coming out of school or coming into the draft this year in every position. You got Josh Simmons, you got Will Howard, you got Egbuka, you got both Buckeye backs, you got the defensive lineman, JT, you got Tyreek Williams, you got some secondary guys. I mean, that goes to show you how stacked Ohio State was. But for Will Howard to lead the Buckeyes to a championship, I think is a testament of, what he can do at the next level as a backup. I think down the road in the future, he's going to be a very trusted backup. And I think for the future for the Steelers, that's kind of what they're looking at. I don't think he is going to be a NFL starter. I don't think he has the legitimate tools to be an all-out, full-fledged franchise guy, but I think he can come in and be the backup. If he ever shows the cases of being an NFL guy or a franchise guy, then
you give him the opportunity to lead the charge. Simple as that.
And maybe that could be this year, depending on what happens at the quarterback position. But right now, we're aiming for a future backup, and I like Will Howard a lot. I see a lot of Mason tendencies for sure. Now moving on, we have a 5th round pick, the 156th pick. One of the positions that I thought the Steelers would address in free agency,
and they still could, they just haven't yet,
is tackle depth, the offensive tackle depth. They have the majority, the bulk really of free agency has been upgrading depth in a lot of positions. A ton of positions. And some of those we do like. But they haven't brought in anyone for tackle. In fact, they lost more tackles than they've gained. Dan Moore's not a huge loss, and we'll take the 3rd round comp pick next year for him. But we don't have anyone behind Broderick Jones or Troy Fautano. Absolutely nobody. We got Dylan Cook, and I don't think he's ever played any regular season snaps.
That's a huge question mark. Tackle depth is a huge concern right there, especially with the worrisome injuries of Troy Fautano coming back after his rookie season.
And the uncertainty of a Broderick Jones moving at left now.
Yeah.
So, in the 5th round, we go tackle depth. And specifically, with the 156th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Logan Brown, offensive tackle out of Kansas, 6'6", 311. Great frame. He could be a little bigger in weight for the tackle position, but I think his frame is great. He's a 6-year player at the college level. Started his career at Wisconsin from 2019 to 2022, primarily as a reserve with 3 starts in 2022. 1 of them at left tackle, 2 of them at right tackle, which shows you his versatility. That swing versatility, right? He can be the swing tackle come day one. He did transfer to Kansas in 2023, but played only 2 games as a reserve with only 9 snaps before unfortunately going down with injury. So one of the biggest negatives about him is he doesn't have a lot of playing time. He doesn't have a lot of starting experience because in 2024, he had his only full season as a starter. So there are some concerns in regards to that. He's only a 1-year starting guy. And maybe there could be some raw tendencies in that regard. And I know none of us trust Pat Meyer to continue to develop the youth at the offensive line, which is very young. And the potential drafting of a guard or a tackle in this draft is going to only make it younger. But Logan Brown, I think with the year that he played and what he showed, he's a strong tackle, man. He's athletic. He's very good in pass pro, strong as a run guy. He's a mauler, man. He's a people mover. He wins a lot of his battles. I think his footwork and his hand placement is pretty impressive for someone that didn't get a lot of playing time up until last year.
Indeed, man. And it's been quite a journey for a guy like Logan Brown, having to be a reserve for the majority of his college career and having to deal with an injury and whatnot, and that's just as far as his football career goes. But, I mean, apparently this man has been dealing with type 1 diabetes at the same time.
Yeah.
So, going through that and having to deal with that while trying to make it into the big leagues, going through the college level and just really trying to prove yourself. I mean, this has been quite the journey for Logan Brown. 6 years in college to only play 1 full year last year, but it was a very good year for him. He allowed no sacks, no hits, only 6 hurries within 11 games starting for Kansas. And it was enough for him to earn a Senior Bowl invitation. So it goes to show that Logan Brown, even with what he's going through, whether it's in real life or at the football level, he's a man that is dedicated to his craft. He's a man that just works very hard. He works to grow. He works to develop. and he showcased that big time last year.
And as you see in these clips, he played all his games last year at right tackle. So again, he has that left and right tackle swing ability. Where the Steelers would put him, Lord knows, probably at right to start because that's where he's most comfortable. That's where he's most familiar, at least so we think. You know, the Steelers love to move their tackles around at the blink of an eye. But what you see here is his physicality, man. He was a big reason why Devin Neal has such a good year in Kansas. You know, very good technique for someone that didn't get a lot of playing time up until last year. So very impressive for Logan Brown. I like him a lot in the 5th round if they want to go tackle depth. I think that's kind of the sweet spot for a position like that because we do need to upgrade it. We do need to bring in somebody. Could there have been someone with better experience or more playing time and more experience at the position? For sure. But I think the year that Logan Brown had, I think the potential was there. He'd come in as depth, and maybe down the road, he could challenge a guy like Broderick or challenge a guy like Fatano, depending on injuries or progression or development. We'll see what happens down the road. But initially, I think he'd be great swing depth.
No, and that's a great way to get his feet wet. You know, you get him in there, you have him learn both sides. You know, that's ideal because the Steelers absolutely need the depth. You have him work there, and then, you know, you just see how his progression goes from that point on.
Yeah.
And the guy has hella potential, a big frame, big body, and just, again, dedicated to his craft and just really trying to make it work as far as his football career goes.
Yeah, and it even earned him a Senior Bowl invitation, which he stood out in that as well.
The guy's determined. He's a determined individual.
For sure.
And that's what you want on your football team.
Absolutely. Now, with the 185th pick, the pick we got in the trade for DK, we did not have a 6th-round pick in the last mock because we traded that for Fields. And then we traded for DK and got a 6th-round pick back anyway. So we do have a 6th-round pick, which I think was necessary because that time in between is rough, and we could really use that pick for a lot of depth areas.
Yeah, it was a very far stretch before we had the 6th-round pick.
Yeah. So with the 185th pick, we double dip at D-line. I think double dipping at D-line is a must. I think it's inevitable. I think the Steelers have to do it. I know they brought in a lot of these names for depth purposes, for camp bodies, but I think they need someone else to bring in to challenge said guys, or someone that could be brought in as a camp body, someone that can ride the practice squad if he has to. You know, just double dip at D-line, I think, is a smart way to go because you need your future nose. You need depth in that area, or just someone to challenge like a Logan Lee or a DeMarvin Leal or a Montravius Adams or an Isaiah Loudermilk, guys like that. And that's why we go D-line again in the 6th round and double dip. And with the 185th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select one of my favorite day 3 sleepers, Ty Robinson, defensive tackle out of Nebraska. I might be crazy in thinking this, but when I watch his tape, I see a lot of Brett Kiesel.
Good old the beard, huh?
It's not just his jersey number either. He rocks 9 and 99. I see a little bit of Kiesel in him. He's such a strong run defender. He is very quick at the line of scrimmage. He's very explosive off the snap. You know, with pass rush upside. I mean, last year, a career high 7 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, 11 quarterback hits, 25 hurries, and 4 passes defended. The guy is a menace at the line of scrimmage, man. He can play all over the line for sure. He's versatile. He can play anywhere you want, where you put him at the 3. You can put him at the nose if you want him to. But the way he plays is physical. You know, he has a good bull rush to him. He has a good arsenal of pass rush ways with his pass rush upside, whether it's a swim move, whether it's a bull rush, whether it's just a bully mentality that he brings to the table. And he's always around the ball carrier at the same time. He's always trying to clog up the holes. He's someone that plays so intense at the line. And I think for depth, we need that. Someone that can come in and rotate for whatever reason. We need somebody like that. And Ty Robinson is an athlete. For his size, 6'5", 288, he's an athlete. For sure.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned that. He absolutely stood out. He's one of the combine standouts, you know, when he was in Indianapolis that weekend, man. He had a 4.83 40, 28 bench reps, a 33.5 vertical. Like, this man is just an athlete. The guy is just a freak athlete at that, and he plays with a high motor. He's got a high motor. He plays with a high motor, and he plays with a bully play style, man. Like, when linemen go to try to block this guy, I mean, he just knows how to attack it. He knows how to attack them. He knows how to shed the blocks. You know, he's got a very heavy-handed striking ability. He's just so quick as a pass rusher. I mean, he's a guy that, you know, if you want some interior push or want some versatility, you know, wherever on the defensive line, for some pass rush upside, I mean, this is the guy to go with as far as depth goes.
Yeah, for depth purposes, I think he could be one of the really good day 3 selections.
And great in rotations.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Ty Robinson. Like I said, I see a little bit of Kiesel in him for sure. I think for depth, I think that'd be a phenomenal pick. I think we need someone to challenge a lot of these depth pieces, which is young. Some of it's unproven. And I just think we need someone with that type of attitude in that room for his role. So I think Ty Robinson will be a hell of a pick in the 6th round for sure to kind of double dip on the D-line, add extra pieces there, add extra physicality, just to bolster up the trenches once again.
Yeah, I know the Steelers already have many bodies as far as depth goes on the defensive line, but it's just a kind of a cast of reoccurring characters, and a lot of that is kind of uncertain and unproven at the same time, at least in my opinion. So I think a fresh face, a guy like Ty Robinson, to really kind of try to, compete and go up against, DeMarvin Leal and Montravius Adams, like you said, or Isaiah Lattimore, just to, test these guys and see, what they're all about, see what a guy like Ty Robinson could bring to the table as far as depth goes, as far as, a camp body goes and whatnot, just see what he can bring to the table.
I agree.
And just get a future, in my opinion, a future rotational guy as far as depth goes.
And someone that could be a trusted backup in case of injury or Lord knows what else.
I agree for sure.
I think that's Ty Robinson's ceiling for sure. He's just an intense playmaker. And wherever they want to double dip at D-line, it's another one of those positions. It's kind of hard to eyeball. I think defensive line will be the pick at 21. I think that's the most ideal pick at 21. And I do think they take D-line again at some point in the later rounds. It's just hard to tell where. Could it be later? Could it be earlier? Could they double dip in the first 2 days? Nobody knows. D-line is so stacked. And Ty Robinson and his potential shows that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to end this mock, we do have one 7th round pick, the 229th pick that we have. This could go anywhere. It can go corner. We can go another safety. We can go receiver. We ultimately went receiver here because I think we can always add more receivers. You can never have too many good receivers. You can't. And I think we still need to add fresh faces there. We have Pickens. We have DK. We have Calvin. We have Roman Wilson. We have Skoranek. We have Scotty Miller. We got some bodies there. We got some good faces there for sure. I still love the potential of Roman Wilson. Ben Skoranek is a special teams guy and a hell of a blocker. Scotty Miller could be the practice squad piece that could be elevated in case of an injury or whatnot.
Yeah, but the names that you just listed that the Steelers currently have a wide receiver, that's a lot of speed right there. A lot of speed and a lot of size at that, especially, Pickens and Metcalf at that.
Well, why stop there?
Why stop there?
Why stop there? You can never have too much size. You can never have too much speed. And you can never have too many great deep threat at the wide receiver position. So with the 229th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Dante Thornton Jr., wide receiver out of Tennessee. Again, call me crazy. I might be crazy here. But when you watch this guy's tape, he started his first couple years at Oregon, then transferred to Tennessee, and stood out as a massive deep threat. The guy is a huge playmaker. His route tree is limited, yes, because all he knows is one route, which is go long, go deep, run a fade, and he can deliver. He has the speed. He has the hands. He's got the big playmaking ability. Who does that remind me of? Martavis Bryant. Just a couple pounds lighter and no off-field issues. But similar size and stature and same playmaking ability. It's just, I get severe glimpses of good old number 10 from the mid-2010s when I watch a guy like Dante Thornton. The guy can catch deep. If you want to give him the ball short, he has the yak ability because of his speed. Again, his route tree is limited. That's one of his biggest issues is he doesn't run a lot of routes. And I don't think he would be drafted in the 7th round to have to learn a full route tree. He is pretty much, hey, he's going to be one of those guys we bring onto the field to make a massive play happen. And in the 7th round, I think going receiver here with a guy like Dante Thornton, why not throw a flyer at him? Why not throw a flyer at him? And I know his production is a big concern as well because he has no more than 26 catches in a single season in college.
Yeah, I mean, like throughout his 4 seasons, both at Oregon and Tennessee, I mean, he only played in 47 games and only 12 of those were starts. So he has very minimal experience as far as the starter goes at the college level. But I mean, you see him out there, you see his, I mean, just look at his size, look at his tangibles, 6'5", 205, and He has insane speed for that size. He ran a 4.3 flat at the NFL Combine. You mix the size with the speed and just his ability to win as a vertical threat. He's just very good at tracking the ball at the same time. I mean, like, he is a deep threat through and through. That is his best trait. That's the best way he goes. Like Dan mentioned, some of his worst traits is his lack of a route tree. Some of it may also be the injury concerns that he brings along with the table. Maybe even, beating some press man reps at the same time. But I mean, this guy has plenty of upside with plenty of room to grow. So, guy has size, the guy has speed, the guy has upside. The guy, man, is just a lethal deep threat that the Steelers could look to add upon, look to put with the Steelers on the offense, whether that's A-Rod or Mason at quarterback, who knows at this point. Just to add another depth piece, another young stud there, a wide receiver, a guy with upside as far as the depth guy goes. Can't hate it.
No, for a 7th-round flyer, I mean, why not add another speedy vertical deep threat? I don't see the issue with that, man. I mean, give him a chance, give him the shot in camp to see what he can do. If he can upgrade his route running ability, then maybe he can get a bigger role on the offense and start his way from the bottom and work his way up into the offense as a bigger role. But I think bringing him on and using his speed for a lot of reasons on the offense, I think is a good way to go for the Steelers. And plus, you can never have too many good speedy receivers.
No, you can't.
And I think the offense does need more speed. We have Calvin, we have Roman, we got DK with tremendous speed. And I think we could get faster. I think we could still get speedy in a lot of ways still at the receiver position.
Not just that, but just adding another yak monster at that too. That's something that he also brings to the table. As soon as he has the ball in his hands, the way he's able to track the ball, he just leaves the defensive backs in the dust.
Sure does.
With his size, his speed, his tangibles, and just the upside it brings, his vertical threat. Just a very, very skilled receiver with plenty of room to grow.
Yeah, I mean, he is very limited in terms of the type of receiver he is. But I think as a 7th-round guy, you're not asking him to do too much. And if he is able to grow throughout the years, for sure, I think he can see a bigger impact on the offense. But he's here for one reason only, to provide very good depth, to play on the perimeter and be that deep threat if we ever want to give him the opportunity to work on the offense for sure. But one position we did not select in this mock was corner. We didn't select corner. I would prefer the Steelers to select the corner because I'm not so certain about our depth. Corey Trice, he's still unproven. We don't know if he can stay healthy. Brandon Echols, I really like as a depth guy. They brought back James Pierre, hopefully for only special teams. They got Darius Slay for a year. Ryan Watts, we'll see what he can do in his second year, being on IR all of his rookie season. So I would still like them to go corner at some point, and maybe because of the limited amount of picks that we have, we weren't able to go corner. But I just think corner could be one of those positions that they not take off the draft board, but it's one of those that they're going to put on the back burner for all these other positions.
Yeah, I mean, I can 100% see that. I'm not really in favor of it because I feel like the Steelers should really value the cornerback position and look toward the future of really, favoring that position and really establishing that position for the long term. I really don't know why the Steelers are opting to just kind of, I don't want to say do the bare minimum at the position, but just kind of fill it for just one season and then have to repeat that process again and again and again every other offseason.
Right.
I'd rather just, invest in a cornerback. And I know the Steelers aren't great at drafting cornerbacks and developing cornerbacks at that. It's just not been a great resume in the Mike Tomlin era for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, still, there's talented defensive backs, there's talented cornerbacks in this draft class, guys that have upside, guys that have playmaking ability, press man coverage ability, ball, tracking ability and whatnot. Just to look for a piece and a person to really invest in for long term to really play opposite of JPJ, because Slay's only going to be here for a year. You know what I mean?
It depends, because corner is one of those positions that if they do select it, I don't know where they're going to go. But I think they like the group enough that they might put corner on the back burner. That's my thinking. I want them to go corner at some point in this draft. It's just with what we had planned here, we don't know where to put corner. So that could change in future mocks for sure. But that's kind of input there is I would like them to still take corner. I would highly advise the Steelers to do so. It's just in this mock, we don't know exactly where to put it. So we thus took corner completely out of the mock because of the bodies they added and who they might like enough in their current cornerback room. Hopefully that isn't the case, but we'll see what happens in the future. I know for certain that won't be the case for our future mocks. Going down the road, we will definitely have a corner in certain number of rounds or a certain selection regarding whatever we brew up in the next coming weeks. But that's going to be coming as the NFL draft is a month away. We will be definitely having some more mocks coming out as we inch closer and closer and closer to Green Bay for the NFL draft.
We're less than a month away, brother.
We're less than a month away. So this is the mock that we had, our first post free agency mock draft. So let us know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Again, we go D-line and running back early, followed by a quarterback, then tackle depth, then defensive line depth, then receiver. If you guys like what you saw here, hit that like, hit that subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. If you guys have your NFL mock drafts of your own regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers, feel free to put them down in the comments below. Otherwise, let us know you guys' thoughts on this mock draft. Appreciate you guys for listening. At the end of the day, here we go, Steelers. We'll see if A-Rod can finally make a decision. And
not holding my breath.
Stay tuned for more draft content coming in the next couple weeks, man. See you in the next one.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!